In this video, we're going to talk about quadrants and planes, and we usually find these in geometry type ACT questions. When we're talking about quadrants, we are looking at the XY coordinate plane. When we draw out the X and Y axis, our coordinate plane is divided into 4 quadrants, and these are usually labeled 1, 2, 3, 4, sometimes with Roman numerals as we have here, or it could be numbers, but we do label them 1 to 4. And the standard is to begin with quadrant 1 in the upper right-hand corner, and then we go around in order in a counterclockwise direction with 2, 3, and 4 following. When we're talking about quadrants, what we want to be aware of on the ACT is the characteristics of X and Y in each of these quadrants. So sometimes we'll set up different things such as where Y is positive and X is positive. Well, if we look at our quadrants, when we're labeled for 1, 2, 3, and 4 of our quadrants, where Y is positive and X is positive, that's only in quadrant 1. So things like that. It allows us to be able to label certain areas that we're talking about in that XY coordinate plane. Quadrants also play a part in working with trig functions, especially when we're working with our unit circle. So here we want to be familiar with what quadrants are and how they are labeled in the XY coordinate plane. Now let's talk about planes. When we're talking about a plane, this is a flat 2D surface that extends out infinitely. That means it goes on and on forever. Now that's hard for us to draw. When we are wanting to show a plane, it usually ends up as a quadrilateral with edges because that's what we have to do when we're drawing something. Sometimes we can think of a flat sheet of paper as a plane, but again, that gives an edge. But a plane extends out as far as you can imagine and beyond infinitely, and that's what we want to remember here. Another way that you can get a general idea of what a plane is, if you are into sports and if you like, say, football, we talk about when a team is trying for a touchdown that the ball has to break the plane, the goal line plane. And as you can see here, this player in blue, he wants to reach the football out because if he can break that plane of the touchdown line, he has a touchdown. Here's a view from the side, and we've drawn the red line to show if he can reach the football to cross that plane, that's a touchdown. So that's what we mean. It's an imaginary plane. We don't really have a line there like that. Sometimes they will put that on the screen so that you can see, especially if you're up close, and sometimes they have to do reviews and check and that sort of thing. But that is breaking the plane. That's what we're talking about here. It goes on infinitely in that direction there. A plane, though, has no thickness. In our things that we have to draw, like we even showed the red line, we give a thickness that we can visualize, but a plane has no thickness. Now, parallel planes, what do we mean here? Just like with parallel lines, we can have parallel planes, and that means they never intersect. We're going to look at a picture here in a minute. And then we also have perpendicular planes. So just like with perpendicular lines, so we have the picture on the left is our parallel planes. Remember, they go on and on infinitely. They're not going to cross, though. They're not going to ever intersect. If you'll notice in the image on the right-hand side, this is our example of intersecting planes. Again, going on in both directions for the planes infinitely, but we're just showing here graphically. And this point we have right here that comes up in red, this is our area where we're intersecting. When we've talked before about lines intersecting at a point. But what about for planes? What is formed when planes intersect? And you can see here from this red line that we're showing, planes intersect and form lines. Now, again, remembering that these images extend on, and that's also why we talk about the intersection as a line. It's not a line segment because that is going on in both directions. So we have to do some visualization in our mind, but we have these images here that help us get to that point about planes. Let's look at an ACT type example of something we may see in this area. Pause the video here and we'll come back and work this together. The question says, what are the quadrants of the standard XY coordinate plane that contain points on the graph of the equation y equals 6? So what we need to first look at is, what does y equals 6 look like? And we know that that is a horizontal line that crosses the y-axis at y equals 6. And we can see from the line in blue that's where we have graphed this line. And that occurs in quadrants 1 and 2. Remember, we begin with labeling 1 in the upper right-hand corner, and we go around following with 2, 3, and 4 in a counterclockwise direction. So that gives us answer choice A, quadrants 1 and 2 only.